How's everyone doing? Welcome back to another video. So, the year is 2024. You, as a brand new weeb, are looking what to get into anime. And I am here to guide you on this journey. Well, kinda. Pretty much, someone posted up on one of my Facebook groups, and it was a bunch of anime recommendations, and honestly, just based off of the first few that I saw, I thought that I should probably go through this and let you guys know which ones are worth the recommendation and which ones just stay away from. So today we are once again on Tier List Maker. I don't know how we always end up on here, but we always end up on here. So today we have got our perfect starter animes, great starter animes, good. Do not start with this, maybe later once you get more into anime, and then ones that like I just don't know enough to recommend them to you, so I'm not going to. And then we are also going to follow it by my own 3x3 of anime that I personally would recommend outside of the ones that are in this. So let's jump right into this. In the first one, we are starting off with an absolute banger, and that is Attack on Titan. Now, for those of you who don't know, I genuinely do believe Attack on Titan is the best anime ever. I do not think that there's a better anime ever made since, before, after, period. That's just my personal take on it. But as a starter anime, I would say that this is a great start because you get to see a lot of what people think anime isn't, as well as what anime is, because a lot of people think anime is just fights and all this, or they think it's for children. And Attack on Titan was the anime that I used to tell people to strictly make people realize anime is not for kids. So I think this is a great start to anime. I do not think it is a perfect starter anime for a couple reasons, like its length, and because it's so good, it's kind of hard to go better than that. Next, we've got Bleach. Now, honestly, I don't think I personally know enough about this to recommend it as a starter anime. Personally, I would say do not start with this, just based off the fact of how long it is, and it's one of the big three, and the big three, if you don't know, is like
the three greatest anime. It's a whole thing, but there's a point in time where Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece.
If you're an anime fan, you already know. But if you don't, it doesn't really matter right now, so just don't start with this. Maybe do it a little bit later. Next is My Hero Academia. I personally think when this was down to its second to third season, I would 100% say this is a perfect starter anime because it does so many things well, and it is a great way to get into the genre. Now that it is a little bit longer, I will have to say I would not recommend it right off the bat, but I would say this is a really good start to get into anime. It has everything that you need, and honestly, I think this is just a really good start. With a lot of people should start with this. Next is Spirited Away. Now, if you haven't seen Spirited Away, congrats. It's a really hard one to go as long as you probably have gone and not watched this. This is the one anime movie that like really brought it mainstream, and honestly I think this is a good start as well. I'm not gonna say this is a great or a perfect start because there's a lot of weird stuff that goes into it, and if you're not necessarily comfortable with that stuff, you're gonna be very confused. So I think it's a good start, nothing crazy though. Next, Graveyard of the Fireflies. Now, personally, one of my favorite anime movies, period. It is a beautiful depiction of World War II and everything that happened to them, and Jesus Christ. You will not be able to finish this without crying. Like, that's kind of the whole point of the movie, and it is amazing. This is another one where I would say do not start with this, but try it out. Try it once you've seen a couple things so you know what you're getting into. Next is One Piece. Never start here. Do not, and I mean do not start with One Piece. Or start with One Piece and wait a couple years before you can catch up and get into everything. But One Piece is a beautiful story. It is good for a lot of people to start with, but I would never tell someone to start with something as long as One Piece. I would recommend to watch it at some point in your life, but do not ever start with One Piece. That is my personal recommendation. Next one is Classroom of the Elite. This one I think is almost perfect because of There's a lot of really good story to it. There's a lot of good moments in it. It's not too weird, so you're not going to be turned off if you're not a normal anime fan. And it's very short. I think they're up to their 3rd season right now, so it's perfect for new watchers. But I just don't love this anime as much as I should. So by default, I'm putting it a great start. Next, The Promised Neverland. I'm going to say this because I think you need to when you're clarifying The Promised Neverland. I am telling people season 1. Don't bother with season 2. I'm going to tell you that right now. Do not watch season 2 of The Promised Neverland. If you like season 1, read the manga. I hate to be that person, but please do it for your own sake. And with that, I am going to say this is a perfect starter anime. This is the pinnacle of what people don't think anime is. It's all over the place. It's mind-bending. The story is a masterpiece through and through. And honestly, this was one of the first anime that I constantly recommend to people. And I always just tell them, finish season 1 and just read the manga. Season 2 is the biggest flop, honestly, in anime history, so don't do it. Fairy Tail. Honestly, I'm just gonna be honest, I just don't know enough. I've watched a decent amount, but I never fell in love with Fairy Tail, so I do not know enough about this to recommend to you guys. That's my personal opinion. Next, Berserk. Now, this one is another one. Personally, if I'm gonna recommend Berserk to someone, I'm just gonna tell them to read the manga because I have never heard a Berserk fan talk about the animes. They never do. They always shit on them. So if you're gonna try to get into this type of genre, just read the manga and skip the trouble. Next, Hunter or Hunter x Hunter, however you want to say it, I don't really care. This personally, one of my favorite anime. I think it is an absolute blast, beautiful journey from start to finish. And honestly, this one is a fantastic start for beginners. 1, because you can relate to Gon. 2, Killua is one of the best side characters ever. And there's so much character development for every single character you meet. And there's a character in the show everyone will love. That is just a fact. Now, the only reason I cannot put this in perfect is because it's 150 episodes. And if you're trying to convince someone to start anime and the first thing you're going to tell them is something over 100 episodes, that's a really, really hard thing to do. That's like trying to tell people like, oh, you're not into normal shows that aren't anime. How about you start with Game of Thrones because it's super long and there's super crazy shit happens. It just doesn't make sense to do. So personally, Hunter x Hunter, great start. Whether you're doing the 2011 or the 1997 version, honestly, go for it. You're gonna have a blast. Next, Jujutsu Kaisen. Guys, yes, if you're going to get into anime and you are an action fan, or you love character development, or you just love beautiful animation, Jujutsu Kaisen is perfect for you. I don't care what anyone says. I love Jujutsu Kaisen, not as much as the rest of the world, but I think this is a perfect starter anime, and I think this has really helped boom the craze for what anime is today. So I think that is a perfect choice. Also because you have Gojo, and like, whether you're a guy or a girl, you can admire that this is beauty. Next is Your Name. Now, I will be honest, this was not my first of his films, but this is definitely one of the better ones of his films. I'm gonna just say this is a good start because it's a movie. The dub for it is really easy for people to get in with. Like, you don't have to start them with sub for this, so I think that is a big turn on, as well as the visuals are beautiful, the music is beautiful, and the story is a masterpiece. So I think it's a good start. Next, we've got Haikyuu. So I think this is the only sports anime on here, and this is easily a perfect starter anime. The only reason I would argue that this isn't a perfect starter anime is because the dub is impossible to get a hold of, and I know it's going to be hard to get people who aren't usually used to watching sub to watch subbed. But that is my only argument for this not being a perfect anime. And it is amazing. You will be on the edge of your seat the entire time. No, you do not need to know anything about volleyball. You don't need to like volleyball. Honestly, you don't even really need to like sports, because every character in this you either love, fall in love with, ship, or just have a great time watching and listening to. And honestly, Haikyuu is one of the few sports anime out there that I love recommending to people because it's so good. It's so good, guys. Next is Death Note, and this is arguably the best starter anime of all time, just based off the sheer fact of it has one of the greatest arcs of all time. It's not too out of pocket for people to watch, but it's just enough where you understand where anime memes and stuff come from. There's a lot of memes in this show, and a lot of people won't realize it until you start talking to someone who also knows about Death Note. And honestly, it's a great story. You'll either love L or you'll love Light. That's kind of just how it goes. And you'll kind of learn a little bit about yourself in the same process. But honestly, Death Note, I would highly recommend if you're trying to get into anime. You've got Black Clover. I'm not gonna lie, I would not start with Black Clover. I would not start with it. If when Black Clover was airing at the time, then I would say go right ahead. Do it. It's a great time. But this has the same issue as a lot of anime on here. It's just too long, and there's too much gaps in the show where you're just not gonna want to watch, and you can't really do that in your first anime. You need to be hooked from episode 1 until the end. This one's over, I think, 150 episodes, so once again, it's just a little bit harder, and there's a lot of things that are in Black Clover from other anime, so it's easier to watch it later if you know that type of stuff already. And it's got some creepy ass characters, so that's just my personal. Next, we've got Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul is an amazing starter anime for specific people. If you grew up on either Reddit, Tumblr, or like 4chan, this might be great for you. But if you grew up on any of those, you're probably not new to anime. So it's kind of a hard. It's very edgy. It's got a great story. It has one of the best songs in anime, and it's got a lot of really weird parts. So it's hard for me to recommend it, but I would say this is a pretty good start if you're an edgy person. Honestly, that's just how I would see it. Next is Dragon Ball Super. Don't ever start with Super. It does not make any sense in any world to do that, because of the sheer fact of Dragon Ball Super is way down the line in the timeline of Dragon Ball. If you're really that worried, like if you want to get to Super without also having to watch everything, just start with Dragon Ball Kai or Dragon Ball Z Kai. I'm not 100% sure. If you're not going to get into Dragon Ball, just watch Kai and then get into Z and just maybe go into Super. But if you have friends that are Dragon Ball fans, don't do this, because you're going to ruin a friendship, because they're going to be like, what do you do? If you're going to go down the Dragon Ball route, you go Dragon Ball, then you go Z, then you go, okay. You could go GT or you could just go Super. I always kind of recommend just to go to Super, but if you kind of want to know the memes and stuff of Dragon Ball, just hop into GT and you'll understand why it's just such a clusterfuck. But next, Fire Force. No, don't start with this. This is a don't start with, do it later. For the sheer fact of the fan service can really turn you off of this show. The music is fire, the action scenes are fire, the sound design is fire, and, well, it's fire. But, this is not a great starter anime because there's a lot of weird stuff in it, and if you're not used to weirdness in anime, this is not gonna work for you. Simple as that. Next is Dr.Stone. This is a great start. Great start, almost perfect. And I'm saying that because it's such a fun blast. Like, the first season is so good for starter anime people. Like, it has all the tropes without pushing on them too much. And there's just a lot of really good scenes and a lot of really good moments. So, if you're looking to get into anime, Dr. Stone is a great start. It's not too long. It's still coming out. And the manga's just super fun. So whether you do that or not, Dr. Stone I would highly recommend. Mob Psycho. Mob Psycho is one of two, because I would either recommend not to start with this, or I would definitely recommend to start with. This is strictly who you were in high school, or if who you are in high school. Are you the kid that kind of like is a little bit lonely? You don't know what to do, and like you want to be a better person, but you don't really know what to do? Mob Psycho is perfect for you because it's about getting better as a person, as well as the story's beautiful, the animation is amazing, and everyone loves Mob. Like, you can't not love Mob. So I think this is a great start. I think we just got season 3, so you're not too far behind. The hype for this is never gonna die, and if this becomes one of your favorite anime, there's so many anime that you can choose from after that. Next, Made in Abyss. Personally, I would not start with this just for the sheer fact of it's fucking crazy. Like, crazy. The hardest thing about this show is realizing how old they are and all the shit that they're actually going through. And the fact that anyone just lets this happen is baffling to me. I wouldn't start with this. Maybe watch a couple, then come back to this type of guy. Next, Assassination Classroom. Honestly, this is a great start into anime because you get weird bits of anime. It throws you for a loop. The story is amazing. You get your characters that you're not quite sure what gender they are, which will definitely throw you for a loop if you're new to this stuff. Actually, it used to be. Nowadays, you're probably fine. But this has amazing story. The ending is a beautiful time, and there's not really a boring episode. So I think Assassination Classroom is a great place to start in the genre. Next, now I'm gonna put these two together because they kind of can be in the same spot. One is Naruto and one's Naruto Shippuden. Obviously, if you're doing Shippuden, don't start here for the same exact reason as Dragon Ball. There's stuff before it for a reason. Don't skip it. I know people will tell you you can, but that's because they didn't do that. They only watched Naruto, then went to Shippuden,
And they're like, oh, you don't need to know that.
no, you do. You need to know that stuff. You can skip filler. If you're gonna watch Naruto, skip the filler. For the love of God, please, as a Naruto fan, skip the filler. You can look up the good ones and watch it after, or watch them as you go if it's a character you think you might be interested in. But for the most part, just skip it. It's 2024, guys. There's plenty of places that will just tell you how to watch it without the filler. But Naruto itself, I think this is a pretty good anime to start with. I think if you're gonna be doing one of the big three, start with Naruto. I think it's the easiest one to get into, and because it starts off right off the bat. Like, the first 4 episodes, I would say, is a little bit slow. But once you get into the land of waves, you're going to love it. And if you don't love it by the end of that, just drop the show. It's not going to be for you, and you'll find that out very quickly. Also, it's got Kakashi. So if you like this dude, you're going to like this dude. And this dude is what this dude is based off of. And this dude is better. Exactly. And next is A Silent Voice. Now, this is one of the best anime movies there is. And honestly, I think all the movies just kind of go in a good spot of starting in the good category, because this one I would not recommend to you if you are younger. Like, if you're not in high school yet, don't start with A Silent Voice. It won't really do to you what it should. Whereas if you're older, or you've dealt with depression, anxiety, bullying, any of that stuff, this is kind of meant for you. This is kind of meant to break you down and build you back up, and then break you down again. So it's a good anime to start with, but not the best, I would say. Next is One Punch Man. This is arguably a perfect starter anime. I did not love One Punch Man when it first came out. I just wasn't a fan. The comedy aspect for it was just a little bit too much for me, and I just didn't agree with it fully. But now that I've watched it, and as a starter anime, it doesn't get much better than this. It's got the comedy, it's got the memes, it's got the action, it's got the story, and it's got pretty much everything you need from an anime. So, as a starter anime, I think One Punch Man is arguably a perfect anime to start with. I don't know if I personally would start with it, but I could recommend it. Next is Demon Slayer. Now, I will preface, I'm not a Demon Slayer fan. I don't understand the hype for it, but as a starter anime, it's a pretty good start. This could honestly be a perfect start for the same reason as like Jujutsu Kaisen. It's popular, it hasn't ended yet, well the manga has, but the anime hasn't ended yet. The animation is top tier, and if you're someone who's looking to get into anime, this is a perfect way to show you what animation is capable of. Now, keep in mind, not every anime is going to be at the level of Demon Slayer when it comes to animation. You have to get that through your head, because if you don't, every animation is going to lose your interest so quick. So just keep that in mind. But also, Demon Slayer really doesn't get good until like halfway into season 1, so it's kind of a long haul, but for some people it's worth it. Next, in the second to last one, Horiyima, which I think is the only one on here which was like a romance one, and I would say this is a pretty good start. Yeah, actually, yeah, this is a pretty great start into the genre. You have a lot of characters that you'll fall in love with. You'll have your characters that you don't really care about, but that's kind of a given. And you'll have your waifus, you'll have your husbandos, and honestly, you'll just have a good time with it. I don't know if this is a perfect anime when it comes into that genre. It's one of my favorite anime, but I don't think it's a perfect starter anime into that genre. But I would say it's a pretty good way to start. Next is 7 Deadly Sins. Do never start with this anime. You will not want to ever go back into the anime genre if this is what you start with. And that is for the sheer fact of it's perverted. There's a lot of anime-ness into it. The action's really good. The story's good, but it's not one to start with. Like, there's so much wrong with this anime for you to start with. And if you started with 7 Deadly Sins, please message me in the comments, because I want to know, are you still watching anime? And if so, what's your favorite hentai? Because like, where else do you go from there? But that is my personal tier list for anime that I think you could recommend if you were looking to get into the genre. But let's go ahead, and I'm just going to go through my personal 3x3. Maybe I'll talk about this more in a separate video, but these are my personal 3x3, so my personal 9 that I would recommend to someone who's looking to get into the genre of anime. First one, Sword Art Online. The fact that Sword Art Online was not in their tier list was insane to me, because it has everything you need to get into an anime as a gamer. Next is Parasite. This is the darker end. So the Sword Art is more for like kids and someone growing into anime. Parasite is you're an adult and you want to get into anime and see what the hell it's all about. Parasite is exactly for you. It's a little bit odd. It's got a great story, and it does not hold back at all. Next is Aowashi, another sports anime. If you're not going to be a fan of Haikyuu, you'll probably like Aowashi. I'm also a soccer fan, so by default, I'm going to pick this guy. Honestly, there's just a really lot of good sports anime. Next is Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I mean, it's the new anime that blew up everywhere for a reason. I know it came out a couple of years ago, but this is an amazing start to get into anime, minus the first like minute of the show, because that will turn you off so quick. But if you hang on for the 10 episodes, you will enjoy it, I promise. Next is Death Parade. This one I would only recommend to adults. If you're younger, you won't quite understand what's going on, but if you're an adult and you kind of understand life, Death Parade is perfect for you. Next, Ranking of Kings. This one's perfect for anyone who's looking to get into anime, because the cartoon style kind of works with like a Teen Titans type of feel, in my opinion. Not Teen Titans Go, the original Teen Titans. And the story's good, the characters are great, you love Boji, and it's just a great anime. Next is Psycho-Pass. This one is a full-on mental deep dive. If you're not ready for that, don't watch it, because this will legitimately judge your mental psyche. And oh my god, did this kind of test my limits with people and trusting people. Next, Spy Family. I mean, if you're looking to get into anime, you've probably heard of Anya. I mean, she's Anya. Everyone loves her, and there's a reason, and it's because of this show. And it's just a great starter anime. The fact that this one also wasn't on that list is insane to me because it's so popular. It's amazing. The music is fire, and you'll love every character in the show. And the last one, and this one is by far my personal favorite on the ones that I recommended, and that's Vinland Saga. Whether you're looking for action, politics, animation, beauty, everything, literally everything that you could ever want, or you're a fan of Vikings. I know this was kind of a longer video. I know I need to kind of pull back on the tier list videos, but I kind of enjoy them because it just allows me to talk to you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any anime recommendations that I personally missed, please comment them down below. And if you have any issues with the ones I chose, also comment down below because I want to know where I messed up that you would change. And I'll see you guys next one. Peace, bye, and